Bookatarian here for another book talk. Today I will be discussing The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this book has a lot of potential of being my absolute favorite read of the year. So that being said, if you don't know what this book is about, I will give a brief summary for you. Kyoshi is a girl who grew up in the Earthen Kingdom who was orphaned by her parents in her hometown, which I can't remember the name of right now, when she was very young. I think like 4 or 5 or 6, maybe even 7. A younger age, she was abandoned by her parents in a smallish city in the Earthen Kingdom. A kid growing up in the time between avatars, so from the death of Kuruk, the current avatar, and the rest of his friends searching for the new avatar so they can start training them, or just identifying the avatar is what they're trying to do at this time in which Kyoshi was abandoned, and a few years after that. It takes them 9 years from the time that we believe Kyoshi is born, or maybe 7 years. It's about 7 years. So when Kyoshi is 7 years old, the masters come to the town in which she lives, and they're searching every child who could have possibly have been born at the right time to might have been the avatar. And they're doing these tests on them, which is to put all these toys in front of every child, and if one child in particular picks the same 4 toys that every avatar before them has picked as their toys to play with, that proves that they are then the avatar. And the test goes on in this town in particular where Kyoshi lives, and the avatar is not found. They've been searching for years and years since the death of Avatar Kuruk, and Kyoshi comes along, and since she's orphaned, no one is really speaking for her or making sure that she goes and does the test. But Kelsong, I think that's what his name is, Kelsong, the air master that taught Kuruk airbending, offers Kyoshi the test, and because she has been growing up on the streets, she is super timid and cautious. She grabs one of the toys that is proven to be one of the avatar's known favored toys and runs away before she can continue with the test. Some time after that, they claim that this boy Yoon is the avatar. And the story kicks off mostly from there. And Kelsong remembers meeting Kyoshi from that time and kind of takes her in. He asked his now super powerful and wealthy friend to take her in as a servant. And so Kyoshi grows up in the house of the avatar as he's being trained as the avatar, completely believing that this boy Yoon, her friend, who goes and becomes very close with her, and another girl their age from the Fire Nation named Rangi, they all become kind of close friends, as Rangi is assigned to be the bodyguard of the avatar, Yoon. And I highly recommend you watch at least Avatar The Last Airbender. It's only 3 seasons, and they're all like 25-minute episodes. It wouldn't take very long. But if you want to avoid being spoiled, I would watch that show first. You don't have to watch Legend of Korra, as far as what I know. That takes place in the books, you don't. But if you feel like you need to watch both shows before reading these books and the companion canon graphic novel books as well, then go right ahead. From what I've observed in reading this, I've only noticed that there are spoilers from the show that take place in the book. So I'd recommend watching Avatar The Last Airbender first before you pick up this book. Now, that being said, I've said all that I can without spoiling anything that happens in the book. So if you have not read the book, you have not watched the show, please go away, do both. Then you can come back and join in the discussion of what is, quite honestly, my favorite book of 2020. Bye. I'll see you when you've read the book and watched the show. Please. They're both really, really good. I highly recommend them. I cannot recommend them any more than I am right now. So go watch and read, and I'll see you later. You're an earthbender, but you don't earthbend very well. Like, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. And it turns out that she can't bend so well because she's built to be bending such larger portions of earth at the time. And I thought that was just so hilarious. She can't do the minute things right away because she's got so much power in her to, and it's better geared towards bending mountains rather than pebbles. And I just found that so amusing. Anyways, so we get to the beginning of the book, and Kyoshi's being bullied by a couple of the local girls who are basically just picking on her because she was abandoned and an orphan, and like you say, can't bend very well, and probably because she's so tall too. And it was so funny. I kind of forgotten when I started reading the book that Kyoshi was the tallest avatar and known for it. And I think it's Haidon meets them and like puts the bullies in their place and all that fun stuff. Good. I feel like I saw such a much better side of the Fire Nation by watching how these two powerful women are showing their pride and their honor specifically to their nation that their Fire Nation is known for. They just do such a great job. It almost reminded me of Iroh a little bit. Of course, Iroh is still on his whole other level of being amazing. But it was just so nice to see that, yeah, we know that the Fire Nation turns into horribly awful guys eventually, but as of right now, these two women are being just very rational and very collaborative and are getting the job done. And I found it very interesting that the Avatar needed a bodyguard. And, oh yeah, just one comment about Jeonju. I hate him. I hate him. So very much. For, again, more obvious reasons that I'll get to in a second. But I'm gonna go back to Yoon a little bit. How did they possibly identify him as the Avatar? Did he just happen to grab... Well, no, he couldn't have. That's the thing. Unless they made a replica of this ancient relic that was like one of a kind from the Air Nation temple. I don't see how they could have possibly identified Yoon as the Avatar. And if they couldn't have successfully gone through with the test, because Kyoshi still had the toy, unless Telsong did manage to get it back from her or something, and we just didn't see that. It should have been a little bit more apparent to everyone else, even if Jeonju was trying to like pull the rug over people. Like, oh yep, he totally grabbed all the toys, even though we're missing one. We're missing the Air Temple toy that's supposed to be a big part, or at least a quarter of the part, of identifying the Avatar. And they didn't have it, or it wasn't made clear that they had it again by the time they tested Yoon. And so I'm just like, you other 3 people here, like there's at least 3 other masters at this time searching for the Avatar. They didn't make sure. Yeah, so that was just like kind of a ridiculous mistake that really should not have happened. It should not have happened. Yoon should not have been brought up to be raised as the Avatar or believed to be the Avatar. And the fact that he had actually done some Avatar-ishy things. He had been making decisions on important diplomatic problems and, you know, training, trying to learn to firebend too. Did I mention I hate Jeonju? I hate him. Oh, so much. He is known as the Gravedigger. The Gravedigger. He buried a lot of people alive. A lot of people. And I kind of like that absolutely all of the masters who taught Kuruk bending all have some kind of tainted past because of the things they had to do when Kuruk died at such a young age. Well, I mean, the parallel too with Kyoshi. basically aligning herself with almost entirely all Dao Fei, and a freaking assassin teaches her earthbending. A renowned assassin who is believed to possibly be immortal is teaching her earthbending. And she's just like so disgusted by it all at first. It's like, oh no, I can't align myself with these criminals. The Avatar is supposed to be something more. And I'm just sitting here like, well, look at what Kuruk did. Kuruk was a gosh darn horrible Avatar whose friends did some pretty not great things too. I was really, I just really enjoyed it, how they showed the parallel of, aligning with yourself with morally great people done this way, with the way Kirk does it, although he kind of turns most of his friends morally gray. It's kind of his fault they ended up doing that. And then Kyoshi purposefully aligning herself because, granted, she has nowhere else to go and no one else to possibly teach her bending because Jeonju is so gosh darn powerful. He's freaking spider. His webs are everywhere. He's got his hook so deep in the Earth Kingdom and basically everywhere else. Anyone who is a renowned master who could possibly teach anybody bending, Jeonju knows about it. And I'm just like, yeah, well, you kind of have to do what you have to do. I loved her character development. It's so good. Especially when she was pressured by Laugo, the assassin. He's giving her this test that she has to kill the governor, Governor Tay, something like that, who's just a kid. Of course he doesn't tell Kyoshi this, and so when she goes to do it, she stops and is just like, you know what? Because you're so damn young, I'm gonna give you another chance, but you gotta straighten yourself up, boy. And she just, after that, she takes a step back from her rampaging, crazy rage and thirst for vengeance that is just ravaging her through this point. And she's like, you know what? It's gonna be okay. I don't really need to be so focused on revenge all the time. Not saying she doesn't have reasons for wanting to avenge. Her father figure, basically, is what Kelsong is. Her father figure. He took care of her for years and was murdered before her eyes, and she believed Yoon to be dead too. And for a bit in the beginning, I thought they would be dating for a little bit. But, then he was believed to be dead. So, that sucks. Which, by the way, cold move, Jeonju. Just abandoning your former student who you devoted so much of your time to just because he turned out not to be the Avatar. It kind of seemed like that Yoon and Kyoshi might date for a little bit in the origin story, and I thought, oh well, that's gonna get really complicated when it turns out that Yoon isn't actually the Avatar. Because there was this moment that Kyoshi remembered that happened like maybe a few months previous to the beginning of the book, where the plot actually starts, that she was like they had a lot of chemistry, and she always kind of held herself back because he's the Avatar, and she felt that he was holding himself back too because he was the Avatar. And so for 1 second I thought, it was like, oh, was Rongi not Kyoshi's girlfriend? I'm a little confused here. But then everything writes itself out. Yoon goes and gets himself supposedly eaten by a spirit. And Rongi and Kyoshi flee Jeonju's estate and make their way to the secret hidden city that supposedly no one knows about. And I just love the different references that we get to Avatar, in which that little tea shop that they have to go to, and you have to say these specific sentences to the people working there. I was really hoping that Kyoshi would have a spirit animal, or an animal guide, not a spirit animal, an animal guide. And it turns out so far that she doesn't really have one. She's just adopting Pong Pong, which is Kelsong's sky bison. And I just love that even though her airbender, her connection is lost between her and Kelsong. And normally when that happens with airbenders, the bison will just fly off to possibly rejoin a wild herd or something. I was just really relieved that Pong Pong trusted Kyoshi enough and that she stayed with her, and they seem to be getting really close. Even though I did wish that Kyoshi kind of had her own animal guide, it was just still a nice relief. Like, Kelsong in death is still watching her be a Pong Pong. And yeah, that was sweet. And I was so devastated when Kelsong was killed. I was just so pissed at Jiangju. So pissed. Like, oh, no wonder Kyoshi was so hell-bent on getting revenge against him for as long as she did. Not only did her crush get supposedly killed in front of her, or she had to abandon him, lost to her forever, whatnot, but then her father, for all intents and purposes, her father is killed by a man she trusted. And it's just like, it's literally earth-shattering. I was just, when it happened and she was just constantly thinking about getting revenge and using that as reason for doing anything Avatar related, at first I was annoyed. Now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that is completely justifiable. Like, you go, girl. Every time Kyoshi does much of anything that is like badass, I'm just like, yes, go Kyoshi. Go Kyoshi, show them all, you can do it. I'm such a hardcore Kyoshi fangirl now. And I'm not even sorry. Definitely not. Alright, so I think that will be all for part 1. I still have so much to say about this, so I'm going to split this book talk into 2 parts. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.